Good evening, everybody. Good evening to those on Zoom. Talk 3, Dance of the 10 Directions, Sesshin. I remember a day when I came home from school in high school when I was having a very difficult time, and my mother had posted on one of the walls of my bedroom the Serenity Prayer. God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and wisdom to know the difference. And at that age, I had no idea that wisdom was something that could be proactively practiced or cultivated. And now I'm very grateful to have the confidence that it is. In talking about practice, already I'm aware that there are so many aspects. And to talk about some of those aspects and refer to them as practice is like to take a scoop of water and talking to you about what I see in this little scoop of water, all the while calling it the ocean. But maybe the purpose of doing so and calling my little scoop of water the ocean is that you may then look at your own little scoop of water and recognize that it too is the ocean. I want to talk about concentration and awareness tonight. Chosen Roshi used to often say concentration and awareness are the two primary methods of practice that we engage. And concentration is something proactive, something that we do, something that we intend, we practice, we cultivate in order to develop a more useful, focused, insightful mind. We practice concentration in order to become more concentrated. This takes stability of purpose, knowing what we're doing and why we're doing it. It also takes a certain degree of energy and alertness, and it also takes time. One aspect of Sesshin is that Sesshin is a specifically designed vehicle to help us get from one place to another. And because the vehicle of Sesshin has been crafted enough over the years, just by entering and just by sitting here, even if we spend the whole time daydreaming about lollipops, we're likely to exit Sesshin feeling a little bit more revitalized, maybe with more color in our face and a lightness in our gait. But Sesshin, just like any vehicle, to experience what it really has to offer, we have to learn to drive it well. And the Zen Driver's Manual basically says, in simple steps, I'm reading off the manual here, for best performance, please apply continuous practice throughout meditation periods. follow forms during chanting service and oryoki, engage your work practice assignment wholeheartedly, and nourish yourself during breaks in such a way that is satisfying and helpful without feeling the need to indulge the need for entertainment. Basic Sesshin instructions. And as straightforward as they are, they can also be very nuanced. For we have to continually close the gaps in our concentration, in our practice. And we have to continually close the gaps until there are none. Now, immediately in saying something like that, I worry that it comes across like we shouldn't have any ideas or something ridiculous like that. And that's not the case. We have to look more closely at what is meant by gaps. In order to close gaps, we have to notice where it is that gaps occur. So where and when does our mind wander? Does it wander during chanting or when we're eating? Are we more focused while exhaling than inhaling? How does the soundscape affect the mindscape? Do we take a break from our practice when we stand up for kinhin? Or when we go to the bathroom? These are all the gaps that are to be closed. And closing them seems to require intention or vow, energy, curiosity, and effort. The vow that's required is not the vow to become a concentration machine. That might serve in certain pursuits, but not in the pursuit of inquiry into the nature of the Dharma. The vow that serves is the vow to awaken. To awaken to, as our morning chant says, way beyond what thought can know. The kinds of gaps that we're seeking to close are the gaps in our practice when our conceptual world comes into being, when our fabricated world comes into view, who we think we are, what we'll do later, what we feel about that thing we said that one time, and how it probably made that person feel, and why they've always returned my emails late ever since we had that conversation, etc., etc. Our unexamined theories about things, expectations, desires. Because this is all the realm of what thought can know. But here our interest is beyond that. This world of fabrication is basically creative, a work of art from our own minds that somehow blinds us not only from the means of its creation, but also blinds us to the Creator itself. we close the gaps in our practice that we may cease this continual fabrication of our life. And once we stop this fabrication, we then have the opportunity to come up against and cross a threshold into something more true about ourselves, beyond what thought can know. So please be curious how to close these gaps in your practice, tending towards a state of ceaseless concentration. The first two aspects of concentration as listed in the Pali Canon are returning, and then the second is staying. And here we're looking for staying. As I mentioned before, energy, alertness, and stability are all factors which support our concentration. But being clear about our intention is foremost of all of them. So you might gently ask yourself what it is that you're doing here. This is not a question that requires an answer in words, though words may be provided to you. The intention is subtler, perhaps something felt, or maybe just touched. And what are you doing here, in this room, in this sesshin? On this earth? And what's the function of life itself? And what's your part therein? And intention needn't be put into words. Simply felt or maybe just touched will do just fine. Perhaps when we assert our intention to awaken, we don't really know what that means. But even to speak it, chant it, hear it, resonates something in us, something below, something around us. Something that maybe we see in the symbols in the room, in the icons on the altar, or in the incense pot. Or not. Maybe we see it in the forest, smell it in the mulch. Perhaps we feel it when we've lain down for sleep, and to let go of the self just before we transition into the unknown. Or perhaps it touches us right when we wake, but before we've really remembered who we even are. These whispers that tickle our ears, words that we can't quite understand, but also somehow do. Maybe these are the voices that are the call to awakening. Sesshin increases our sensitivity. This is part of being awake. After a sesshin with Shoto Harada Roshi during the closing talk, he said, people these days don't even know the taste of a good fresh cup of coffee. Opening our senses is a good thing. Becoming more sensitive is a good thing. But we don't need more sugar and salt in order to experience more. We need more attention. We need more attention to the details. Once during Oryoki at Great Vow up in Klatskanai, I noticed that Shinei was crying, and I asked her later in the day what was happening, and she told me that she noticed how beautiful her spoon was, and she was moved to tears. So we have to put a lot of effort into this aspect of practice, that is concentration, that we may close these gaps within which we create ideas of ourselves that simply are unfounded. And we must close these gaps so that we may be sensitive to the real texture and details of the lives that we're living right now. And another aspect is awareness. Rupert Spira, a teacher in the Vedanta lineage, or so he was, says that the traditional view of meditation is that we are the person and we are doing meditation. But another way to view it is that we are the meditation, and this meditation does the person. From the side of awareness, concentration is a natural aspect of the mind and needn't be cultivated. Awareness is a continuous whole without any gaps. You are always aware of exactly what you are aware of. And further, the mind will always go exactly where you want it to go. What we are aware of, will never be separable. We say in affirming faith in mind, for things are things because of mind is mind because of things. These two are merely relative, and both at source are emptiness. How could there be room for any activity of concentration in the midst of such intimacy? The importance of this, as pertains to our practice, is that as we open in Sesshin, as we open over time, through our practice of concentration, what we open to is a naturally focused and attentive mind. And then the effort of concentration can relax. And our own true intention can take the lead, can take the reins. Thus, by cultivating concentration, we open to the naturally concentrated mind, which requires no cultivation. But if we don't cultivate concentration to begin, we may never notice how naturally simple we even are. I also want to say something about our dance of the 10 directions on gathering and offering. Perhaps in part we come to Sesshin because we, as living beings, have gathered just a little too much. Things are kind of stuck to us, or we're stuck to them. They bounce around inside a little, and we aspire to simplify. Even during Sesshin, we gather wonderful qualities and then worry that they may dissipate after. The qualities of clarity, sensitivity, relaxation. In this dance of the 10 directions, we practice gathering. We gather the fruits of our life. We gather the experiences that we've had, the lessons we've learned, the pain we've felt, the mistakes we've made, our good deeds, our regrets, from all the 10 directions. We gather our entire life, every little thing. Hold it. And then not just release it, but offer it. In our chant book, there's a verse written by the 7th or 8th century sage Shantideva. For as long as space endures, and for as long as living beings remain, so then may I too abide to dispel the misery of the world. I don't know if this verse has so much to do with forever or some commitment we are to fulfill in the future, but rather a commitment that's applicable in the immediacy of our lives. For as long as space endures and for as long as living beings remain, so then may I too abide to dispel the misery of the world. May every experience of my life, all the good, all the bad, the bliss, the trauma, even this experience right here, our sitting together, may somehow all of it be for the benefit of all beings, accepting no experience and accepting no being. And may this practice that I do here now, with you here with me, be the means through which each experience is transformed to be something of benefit to all. In this way, we can transform even our past. So with this spirit, may we gather all that comes our way from the 10 directions. May we gather it all, and may our very practice that we do hold that which comes our way, that it may be transformed and offered back to the world in a way that is of benefit. Dogen Zenji says, the fruits of practice are sometimes hidden, the fruits of practice are sometimes not hidden. Perhaps the benefit that we offer may not be one that we always understand, but perhaps it's a process that we can learn to have faith in. In this spirit of gathering, receiving, holding, transforming, and offering, giving, may we practice together. So please, as you sit here, expand the heart wide to fill the 10 directions, encompassing the earth, encompassing the vastness of space, connecting with all that is. And remember that we breathe with all who breathe, lizards and leaves alike. And listen deeply, be attentive to the subtle whispers of this life, and be truly quiet so that you may hear them, because every moment has something to say.